Right now, though, we'd like to welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show Michael Tanner, Senior Fellow at Cato Institute, writing on the subject of the coming entitlement tsunami. Michael, how are you, sir?
Doing just fine, thanks. Pleasure to be with you.
Likewise. True or false, to talk about the national budget, debt, deficits, etc., without a serious grown-up discussion of the big three entitlement programs is idiocy.
Well, that's right. You can't come close to dealing with the real debt that's facing this country unless you're willing to deal with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. You know, we're terribly upset because later this month we're going to hit the statutory debt limit of $14.3 trillion. But as bad as that is, if you wanted to consider the money that we owe but can't pay for Social Security and Medicare, the real debt of this country is $118 trillion.
Now, what's the best way to explain this to people in a way that it's going to make sense to them?
Well, I think what you have to understand is you can't just, if you have a mortgage, you can't just look at the payment that you have this month on it. You have to look at how much you owe completely versus what you expect your incomes to be in the future. And if you're not going to be able to pay that mortgage down the road, you're in worse shape off regardless of whether or not you happen to get a big lottery hit it this month and can pay it now.
Right. So is it just political expediency that prevents anybody from taking this on seriously? If they suggest swallowing any bitter pills, they'll get kicked out of office and they know it, or they think it?
Well, I assume that that's the case. You know, politicians are very happy to pass out benefits today and let the bill come due after the next election. And that's what they've been doing for years. And I really am concerned that they're not willing to take it on this year. I mean, it's understandable to some degree. The Republicans have sort of been beat up on this every time they've ever raised anything about Social Security and Medicare, and it's made them a little gun-shy. On the other hand, they have a majority in the House today, and if their sole reason for being in power is to stay in power, then, gee, Hosni Mubarak was a great role model.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So do you guys at the Cato Institute, do you have your suggestions for what they ought to do, for instance, with Social Security?
Well, I think the fact is that we have to face up that for younger workers, not people who are retired, not people who are close to retirement, but for younger workers, Social Security is simply not going to pay them what is promised to pay. We're going to have to reduce those benefits. I personally think there's better ways than raising the retirement age, but we can, we can find ways to reduce the benefits. And then, to offset that loss, we should let younger workers take a portion of what they're paying in Social Security taxes and invest that privately if that's what they want to do. But the simple fact is we promised what we can't deliver, and we have to be an adult about it and face up to it.
Michael, the credo here at the Armstrong and Getty Show, and we're talking to Michael Tanner, Senior Fellow at Cato Institute. We believe, Michael, that there needs to be more starvation, or at least the threat of it. If the churches and charities want to step in and prevent people from starving, that's fine and dandy. But people who live their lives like idiots without any risk of starving, well, they're going to live in a certain way. We need more starvation. Are you willing to join us?
Well, the reality is that you have about the same amount of charity in society, whether it's government-provided or private sector-provided. If you trace it over time, ignoring economic growth, but holding a constant for that, what you find is that what changes is the mix. The more government provides charity, the less people give. And when government cuts back, people give more. It's just a question of who's going to do the distribution of it.
What is the big of the big three, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? What's the biggest one? Or either the biggest / most difficult to deal with?
Medicare by far. Medicare's unfunded liabilities are close to $90 trillion compared to only about $18 trillion for Social Security.
And is there any fixing this without? I mean, we're not going to say to people, well, we're just not gonna take care of you. You're just going to have to die of your disease, or your broken leg is going to have to heal on its own. Sorry, you don't have any money. We're not going to do that. So, is there any fixing it?
Well, we can sort of target our resources that we have to the people who need it most, low-income people with high medical expenses. But the idea that the average middle-class person is going to continue to have health care throughout their old age paid for by someone else, that's just not going to be the case.
Yeah, but see that gets back to the problem I always have, and that's why we want more people to starve. So if you plan for your future, save your money, you're frugal, you get to your elderly years, and you've got money, then you have to spend your own money. But if you buy a new car all the time and go on fancy vacations and eat out all the time and end up with no money, then the rest of us are going to take care of you. I don't like that system.
Well, and that is why most economists oppose means testing. It is a disincentive to saving and investment on your own behalf. And I think that pure means testing, the sort of thing where we cut off benefits at a certain age, has exactly all those phase-out problems that you talk about. I think there are ways to sort of do it quasi-invisibly that avoid some of those disincentives, but you still have the moral issue that you're talking about.
Michael Tanner, Senior Fellow at Cato Institute. If folks want to learn more about the way you guys see the problem and how to deal with it, cato.org, is that right? Or?
That's correct.
Okay, and we've got it linked at ArmstrongandGettyRadio.com, of course. Michael Tanner from the Cato Institute. Michael, thanks very much. We appreciate the thoughts.
Thank you.
All right.
That's interesting he would use that phrase, because it's not just a moral issue. It's an incentive issue.
It's a mechanical issue, in my mind.
Absolutely.
Like I always say, you change the environment, you change the behavior of the animal, obviously.
It's not just a moral issue. If you're going to tell me right now that I've got free medical care once I get to a certain age, and they'll take money from people who have it to give me enough Social Security to live on, well, then I'm gonna stop saving. I'm gonna quit donating to my 401k. Why not just spend the money now?
It's a simple, logical, mathematical adjustment to your environment. Why wouldn't you do that?
You're actually stupid if you don't.
If I had a chance to ask the president something, I would ask him this. I want you to picture two guys, Mr. President, two men, be whatever color, whatever creed you want. One of them is going to live his life knowing if he doesn't provide, his children will starve to death. And another man who knows if he doesn't provide, the government will take care of his kids. You're telling me the second guy is going to make the same decisions or more admirable decisions than the first guy? Of course, I'd get, well, look, we can't allow people to starve. Certainly, initiative is important and blah, blah, blah. It would just trail off into one of those 10-minute long answers. But I'd love to ask him that question.
Well, you don't even have to present it to the president. Present it to half of the country.
Right.
I don't understand that. I guess your belief, half of you out there, is that everybody is always making their best decisions, and it's only the system that screws them.
Right. And is guilty of underdogma. A great new book we'll talk to the author of later on, maybe next week. Tuesday. Great. In which those who are downtrodden are automatically honorable and good, of course, and those who have are automatically bad and have somehow stolen it.